I'm here, working on something a bit different today. As the title suggests, we're going to be taking a look at the Phorid flies. Now, the Phorid fly is a very small fly. It's very dangerous to ants. This is actually part of the leafcutter levels. It's going to be the challenge mode. And we've come up with how they should work and how they should play. So I'm now working on implementing them. So I spent this morning coming up with some movement for them, because obviously they're flying insects, but they don't have to interact with the game the same way most creatures do. So I'm creating a whole new system for them, a much simplified system, because they don't need to operate like the rest of the creatures do. So I'll show you what I've got so far. I've put together a basic sort of movement. It essentially it just moves from one time to another area. Hi, Expert Archer. It's been a while. And it just does it through this function here. I haven't done this yet, the land on arrival thing. But if I show you briefly. So the Phorid flies here. I press that. It just moves to a specified location. So the next thing for me to do is to actually give it some AI. Not very complicated AI, in fact, a very simple AI. But an AI nevertheless. So on the Phorid fly, I'm going to create a variable called current target. Now, most things in the game have a current target. However, this is going to be purely blueprint. I don't see the point in making anything other than this through blueprint. Hello, Wellcopter. You've actually jumped in at a good point, because we're working on something quite different today. What we have been working on is some new levels for kind of doing monthly missions. We've also been working on various stuff coming in the Fire Ant update, so the abilities of the Fire Ants and whatnot. So upcoming missions, Fire Ant abilities, yeah, those sort of things. So if we just have a quick, so we're going to create some AI elements here. So we're going to need an AI controller, a behavior tree, potentially a blackboard, although I don't actually think I need to store anything on a blackboard. But the Phorid flies we're working on today are actually for the leafcutter levels. So it's the challenge mode for the leafcutter levels. And during the stream, I'm going to explain the plan for them, although it's not entirely set in stone yet. It could change. Okay, so we're going to tell it to run a specific behavior tree, which we haven't created yet, so that's the next step. This is going to be a really simple behavior tree. What the Phorid fly is going to do to make it harder. The Phorid flies, essentially, they're going to hang around certain resources on the map. Now, if you go to those, if an ant goes to those resources and they don't have a leaf, they're not holding a leaf, and a Phorid fly targets them, they have a small chance to fight the Phorid fly off. If they do that, the fly flies off. If they're holding a leaf, they have no chance to fight the Phorid fly off. If they get hit by a Phorid fly, they're going to get a debuff, which will probably slow them down, reduce their health, reduce their attacks, and then after a couple of minutes, they're going to die. So, essentially, you could harvest from the resources guarded by the Phorid flies, but you will lose most of the ants you send there. Now, at level 3, both Medea and Mages are going to gain a personal minim, which will help defend them from the Phorid flies. And if they've got a minim on them and the Phorid fly tries to go for them, they will win the fighting it off, even if they're carrying a leaf. So it creates a kind of play style where you initially want to avoid certain areas, and then as you get more powerful, you want to send your defended level 3 ants to the location to fight off the Phorid flies. And the idea as well is going to be that when you're carrying the leaf, the minim will ride the leaf. So it rides on the back of the Medea or Major on the way to the leaf, and on the way back, the minim will go up the leaf to defend against the Phorid flies. And then part of the level design is going to be to figure out which resources we want to put the Phorid flies on at what point in the level, to kind of give the player some difficult choices, or a puzzle to figure out. They will go for the other ant colony in 3-1. However, the positioning of them is likely to be so that the other ant colony gets less bothered by them than the player. So, for example, maybe Phorid flies are hanging around an area where the enemy colony is not harvesting, and then maybe once they leave, the enemy colony will harvest that area. So it's going to be built into. I mean, it'll be set up so they can go for them, but it'll also be designed so they give you more of a issue than the computer. That's little game design tricks, because you don't want to make it easier for the player. Challenge modes definitely needs to be harder. Okay, so we made the behavior tree. I need to save all this. Okay. That needs to be visible from the outside. That'll do for now here. We'll come back to that in a bit. Let's set up the behavior tree. Okay, so what we want is, so the Phorid flies are going to have several states. They're going to have home, so that they're in a home state. They return home and then wait at home. They're going to have in the air, so idle flight, should we call it? In an idle flight, they don't have a target yet, but they're flying, so they're kind of hovering and moving between locations. Then targeted flight, which is where they have a target and they're kind of hovering near the target, so they'll fly towards it and fly around it. And then finally attack, where they fly to the target, inject their egg, and then based on the result of the attack, they will either whether or not they succeed in the attack, they will then fly off and despawn. They only despawn if they've laid. Hang on. If they lay an egg, they don't fly off. They only fly off if they get fought off. So you can't just use them up. You've actually got to successfully beat them. So, in the home state, there's going to be a selector, I guess. So let's give this a name. We need to decide on a behavior tree, and we are going to need to control this, so I will make a Phorid fly behavior tree. No, not behavior tree, sorry, blackboard. I don't think that's a very... Phorid flies don't... They wouldn't take the leaf. They inject their larvae into the head of the ants and eats them from the inside. Okay, So I want an enumerator, really. I don't see it somewhere. Enumeration. Yeah, these are these flies are based on a real predator. Well, not predator. What do they call them? They're not parasite. They're because a parasite lives with the host. It's the version of a parasite where they actually kill the host. Someone will know. Okay, so turn home. Idle flight. Yes, the spider level appears around full moon for a few days. So I believe the next full moon is it's a week or two away. I think it's probably 2 weeks, probably between 1 and 2 weeks. Idle flight attack. Pre-attack, and then I guess there's a attack. They also need to leave, or could that be part of the attack sequence? I think that could be part of the attack sequence. So I'll leave that there for now. That's probably enough states for the firefly. Okay. So we say if blackboard. So if current state is equal to return home. Okay, so it's at this point we've got a selector, so it's going to lead on to 2 sequences. Go home. Wait at home. Similar thing for the next one. Actually, this one doesn't need a selector. It doesn't need to make a decision. This one is just going to be target the next location, go to it, wait, target the next location, go to it, wait. So this one's just a sequence. Sorry, hang on. I need a top level selector. So this is idle flight, I think. So that's just going to be a sequence. The pre-attack stuff is also going to be a sequence. Then the attack is going to be probably a selector, actually. Let's copy this. Okay. So here in idle flight, I'm going to do this one first because this is what I've already dealt with all of this. So each firefly is going to have a central actor. In fact, I'll make this now. So essentially, we're going to have a Phorid fly spawner which contains some information and is going to this is actually going to do a lot of the central stuff to do with the Phorid fly. But as part of it, it's going to need a few central variables that potentially get changed. So So idle dis is going to be the distance from its central point that they're allowed to idle around. And if the Phorid fly needs to know its what's this called? What have I called it? Phorid fly spawner. Phorid fly needs to know its spawner. You guys definitely deserve more credit as your game's amazing and includes so much learning aspects of natural life creatures. Thank you very much, Expert Archer. We do try, and hopefully we'll when we release the game in full, more people will hear about it. I think quite a lot of people are waiting because it's an early access. So that's fine by me, and I prefer those people to actually wait and see what happens with the game rather than joining in early access and being disappointed with the amount of content. But hopefully the hopefully when we come out of early access, we'll get more recognition. Okay, so I'm just going to set a default value for idle distance for now. About 700. So this is going to be a square that is drawn above, so 700 up and 700 across in both directions. So it's going to be a 700, 700, 700 cube. I don't think there's any reason to overcomplicate this. So let's leave that there for now. The firefly needs its spawner. So it can check information with its spawner. Now, in the end, the spawner will spawn the firefly itself. However, for now, we're just gonna shove the spawner there, and manually set the spawner. Though I need to compile it before that'll show up. Okay. Close that for now. Don't need that open. Okay, so idle flight. So we're going to want to create a new task. So we'll call this target near spawner. So with the spawner, we'll have I think I might rename that, but I'll do it in a bit. I'd rather rename it like idle near spawner. I'll definitely make a whole series when it's completely out, get more people playing, hopefully, because honestly it's one of my favourite games, even though it's still in early access. So funny thing is, watching you do this has made me want to play it again, so I'm going to keep watching the screen. Start a brand new game. Oh, thank you. Very good. I wish you luck with your new colony. Okay, so spawner. Yeah, it's that idle dist. Okay. So I'm looking for a random point in a box. Random point in bounding box. So I'm not really sure how this works. An origin and an extent to me says it needs a starting point, and then it will go X, Y, Z from there. What to call the new colony? Scientist's bane. So I think the origin point then needs to be minus half of this distance. Minus half of this distance in the X and Y, but the same distance in the Z. Yeah. So a bit of maths to get this right. Not much maths, quite simple. So Z's the same. The X and Y, it needs to be minus half the distance in both X and Y. I think. Guess we'll see. So that's the start location. And the extent needs to be, again, half the distance in the X and Y, but the full distance in the Z. And finally, target new destination. Okay, that should do that. So that should pick a random point 700 from the spawner. And fly there. Then in the behavior tree, so after we do that, so what was that? Target near spawner. I definitely need to put a prefix on these to know they're forward fly stuff. Target near spawner, then wait. So I can give it a random wait time, which sounds good to me. So you probably want it to wait for a maximum of 4 seconds, but with a random deviation. So basically any time between no time at all and 4 seconds, it'll wait at the location. Okay, so all I need to do to trigger that should be to change its state to idle flight. So in the level, I'll just do this manually in the level blueprint for now. So I'm not actually sure how I do that manually. Because its state is part of its blackboard. Possibly just get the value from here. I can just get the blackboard. Just a byte. What's the enum called? It's called Phorid fly. Okay, so I haven't. Key name. Oh, it's what's it called? Current state. Let's give that a go. It's not too bad once you understand how the systems interact with each other. The thing is, at the moment, I've got multiple different systems interacting with each other. So we've got various elements of the AI here talking to each other. So a blackboard is just essentially a scratch space for the AI. It's an area that the AI can save data to temporarily or permanently, I suppose. But basically, I'm manually forcing something into the AI there. So if I press this, that did not do what I expected. That instead just printed out 0. Why did it do that? Looks like there's multiple right brackets in here. I should probably get rid of those. Okay, let's try that again. I'll have a look into the Phorid fly itself as well, just to see what it might be that I'm just failing to set something. Okay. So let's see what it's doing in its AI. No, it's got one. Right, okay. I know what the problem is. Yeah. So basically, I haven't given the Phorid fly it's the correct AI controller, which is what triggers all its AI going off. So okay, it's still failed. Right, okay. I'm getting the blackboard of the level, which obviously doesn't have a blackboard. So there's my next mistake. We'll get there. Eventually the Phorid fly will be making its own decision, or actually what's more likely to happen is well, okay, so it flew over there. Okay, so we have the start of it working. Right, I think I actually need to finish execute. That's the issue. You actually do have to return a value with the behavior tree tasks. So that should work. Okay, I don't know where it's gone. Oh, there. So I think it's going into the ground. That's why we're losing track of it. Was it easy when you team started making? Oh no! Oh no! I remember the very early days of working on development was so frustrating to me because I just wanted to work on the game, but I needed to learn so much. So it's like you're kind of stuck in this limbo where you've got these game ideas going on in your head, like, oh, we could do this, we could do this, but I have no idea how to implement them. Okay, so my guess is this is just an origin problem, so we need to shift the box half of its height up. Then we should be fine. I think that's what's going on. Okay, so let's have a think about this for a moment. So we were having an origin and then an X, Y, and a Z. Then we shifted the whole box over. Yeah. We'll try moving it half up in the Z as well. No, minusing the Z will move it down. Okay, so I'm just going to draw the box, so we get a feel for. So we get a feel for it. See if it is halfway into the ground. Oh my. Oh my, oh my. It's not a cube at all. It's a cuboid. I'm guessing you're based in Australia, Expert Archer. Game convention wise, we've done one in Germany, a few in the United Kingdom where we are. We've travelled to America once, but it was actually just for a conference. We weren't actually showing the game, so I can't say we. I can't promise that one. We just have to see what comes. Okay, so it looks to me. So if we have a look at this box that's being drawn. I'm not sure how to solve this at the minute. Off we go. Because it really does depend on how this is operating. So there I'm moving the box up by half of its height. Depends how it operates like. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to test something. So I'm going to skip all of this that I did here. I'm just going to plug in the origin as the actor origin and the extent as it's just 700, 700, 700, and we'll see what it draws. Okay, so considering that starts there, it's drawing 700, 700, and 700 up. Interestingly though, the Phorid fly is actually flying around correctly, I believe. Oh no. I actually think what the Phorid fly is doing is it's drawing 4 of these squares and going anywhere within those 4 squares. You know what I think's happening is the debug box is operating differently to the box. Annoyingly, one's going positive from the origin. So the debug box isn't. Hang on. I might have just not dealt with the Yeah, I've not dealt with the debug. Sorry. That was definitely my fault. Getting confused there. There we go. So that should accurately represent it. Okay, that's what we're getting. So that's the box it's being given. Now, I personally reckon that this is actually 1,400. Because I know one of these tiles is 200 across. So that's 200. 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000. Yeah. And is this going through the floor? Yeah, that's going through the floor as well. So just doing it like that, it's actually drawing out from the center. So what we actually want to do then is, yeah, that's right for the origin. Right, so let's plug these back in. I'm just going to be dealing with the debug box at the minute. Interestingly, it's actually negative in the X and Y. Origin's wrong. Okay, yeah, of course. Sorry. The origin, it actually doesn't need to move. It only needs to move in the Z, because it needs to be raised through the floor by half the height. And the extent needs to be divided by 2 because it's doubling. It's doubling it. Well, it's in each direction. I still don't think that's quite right. Give me one moment. I'm just trying to figure this one out before I move on. No, that looks right. That cube looks right. Okay. But what we'll also do is we'll move it slightly off the ground as well, so it doesn't fly right onto the ground. I want it to be away from the ants, essentially, or just above the height that the ants will be. So maybe 100 up, so they don't fly into the ants. 100 or 200 up. So the Z plus a half height plus maybe 150, so it doesn't go too close to the floor. That only needs to affect the origin. Let's not worry about the rest. Okay, so this should be the final number. If this looks right, I'm going to get rid of the... Okay, so there, it's off the ground. And our fly should always be in that box. I might also, the random deviation, I might rein that in slightly so there's always at least a tiny gap before it sets off again. I like the randomness of it, but at the same time I don't think it works with a huge gap. I don't think it works with no gap. Right. I think it does need at least a small gap. So 1.8. So it's at least got a 0.2 second gap in between movements. I'm not really sure how we add a picture to the game. On Twitch. I've started streaming under the category Empires of the Undergrowth rather than the category in development. I wasn't really sure. I'm still not sure which one's the correct, which way around's the correct way to do it. Is it just me or is it? No, it's fine. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so the next thing to do what I'm going to use this idle flight for is when the ants get close to the leaves that you want to harvest. So basically, as the ants approach it, the flies will take off and just start hovering in the area. Then they'll be given targets by the central Phorid fly spawner. It will pick targets for them. Then they will hover around the target for a bit, and then they'll try and inject the larvae into it. I'm not sure it's always facing the way that it's flying. It's meant to turn around to no, it does seem to be. It does seem to face the way that it's moving. Yeah, it is. Anyway, that'll do there. let's move on, shall we? Right, we can get rid of this debug box now. You know, that's working. Okay, so the next thing is to hover near the target. Now, if it's got a target, it will try and do it, I think. So it should put itself into this. I think they're called decorators. Phorid fly. Do I have target? I'm not the type of person to really like watching development of a game code. So that's honestly fascinating. Well, I think when I'm doing stuff that's quite visual like this, it works out quite well. I've always found that I prefer doing the streams where I'm working on a creature or a level, something that you can really see the progress. When I'm doing something deep in the code, I don't think it works nearly as well. Okay, so I think perform condition check. I think that's what I'm looking at. I will just double check with the other stuff. It's been a while since I've done AI work. Yeah, perform condition check, and it just comes back with true or false. Okay, so this will let it through that gate under a certain condition. Now, so we've got our Phorid fly. Get current target. So this is a creature, so I'm going to run a valid check on it. So this is something that we set up, which basically checks whether the creature is a valid pointer, so check whether it's not nothing, and then also checks that it's got like health above 0 and that sort of thing. So basically, if that's valid, if that's a valid target, it'll return true. We'll add an extra return node here to return false if this isn't a Phorid fly. When the game's released, will people be able to mod the game? Modding is another thing I would love to do, but I've never done it before. Like allowing opening the game up to modding. And there's a lot of questions there whether we want to like create a level editor instead, or there's a lot of it raises a lot of questions. So I we haven't got an answer for that yet. It's something I would love to do, but we can't guarantee it. We'll see. It will require us to do a load of research on our part. I understand the desire for that though, and I do agree that games with a strong modding community have like a much longer lifespan. We will see. Okay. So where's its behavior tree? So rather than is equal to pre-attack, that's already a sequence. Firefly, do I have target? So if it's condition, okay, we'll leave that true for now. But if it's conditions, if it's got a target and it's set to pre-attack, then we're going to hover near the target for an amount of time. How long? We'll probably want to do it. So we'll probably want to do it for a set amount of time. So let's save this as, so I can work with this. So I need to remember to keep putting PP in beforehand. I don't know why PF Firefly. Target near target. Okay, so this is going to actually be quite similar to this. So there's the actor location. So we now need to decide a distance from that actor that we can hover, that we're allowed to hover. So we want to be pretty close, so maybe 300. So that's 300 from the target. Vertically, it's putting it an extra 150 above it. I'd say we go for an extra 100 above it rather than 150. Maybe 300 is too far. Don't know. We're just gonna have to experiment, aren't we? Allow outside the box thinkers to include things that people want in the game. Yeah, you are right. It's a good idea. It's just so we got to get it right. The map size that we've got at the minute, we're currently experimenting with bigger maps, But we do actually have to watch the frame rate as we increase the map size, because it's not. We can't just increase it forever. It does add overhead. We did make changes to allow for bigger map sizes a while ago, and I think we could go bigger than what we've got now. You're at CNR Nagarok. Good to have you back with us. Okay. So I'll add a function in. Not yet. Maybe. Okay, I'm not going to touch that yet. Let's just go to the level blueprint. What we're going to do this time. So I'm going to give it a target. Delete the... Oh, there's a fog wall. You can target this thing. So that's setting its current target. Then we're going to set its state to pre-attack. Okay. Now going back into the Phorid fly behavior tree. Phorid fly, target near target. Again, we want to wait an amount of time. And at the minute, that's just going to rotate around. So it should basically hover near the... near this ant here. Okay, so I personally think it needs to get lower to the ground, and it also needs to move more frequently when it's targeting near a target, so basically it can follow it better. I think it also needs to be nearer it. Ah, hi Alex. Technically, you could let it go forever. We need bigger computers. Yeah. What are we talking about that? So what we're working on today, we're working on Phorid flies, which is going to be the challenge mode in the leafcutter levels. And here's a Phorid fly loitering near this ant. So I think there's a few things we need to do here. So this wait needs to be shorter, I think. So let's do 1 second with a 0.8 random deviation. Maybe less than that actually. 0.8 seconds with a 0.6 random deviation. Let's see how that feels. I also wanted it to be lower down. So at the minute I've stuck it 100 above the target. So let's make it 50 above. Actually, yeah, 50 is the closest it's allowed to get. I'll do 70 because I know some creatures are actually higher than that, particularly the mages. And this is the distance it's allowed to be away from the creature. So 140. We just got to feel this out. Parasites. They. Yeah, they're not actually parasites. They're I really don't know the name of it, but they're the because the parasites live in their host. These actually kill the host. So it's para. I can't remember what the word is. But yeah, they lay eggs on the kind of back area of the ant and inject the eggs in, and then the ant's insides are eaten off after a certain amount of time. Quite horrific, really. Okay, so let's feel that one out. Are they? So there's our fly there. This is the target. So that looks quite good to me. Like it's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. Okay, so when they actually lay the egg, it's only going to take a really brief amount of time. But there's also going to be the dice roll there for if the ant manages to fight it off. And that'll only be if it's not carrying a leaf. And then there's also the so what, and if it fails, if the ant manages to fight it off, the thing's just gonna go away and disappear. It's gonna despawn. If it fails, it's gonna get a debuff for about 2 minutes, where it'll be slowed and and reduce stats, and then after 2 minutes, it's gonna die, and the new Phorid fly is gonna fly out of it. What we're actually gonna do. So other ants can't help, but at level 3 for Medea and Majors, they're going to get a minim on their back. And if they're level 3, they'll automatically have a minim riding them, and the minims will fight off the Phorid flies for them. So level 3 ants are immune to the effect. Level 3 Medea and Major. And fighting them off also causes them to despawn, so you want to avoid them until you can deal with that. Or in emergency situations, you can just accept that you're going to take the loss, because your ants will be able to get the leaves and take them home before it kills the ant. Okay, so moving on. Next is the attack. So needs to go right up close and stay connected for about 0.2 seconds, and then it needs to go back into idle. Into idle flight. If it succeeds, if it fails, it needs to fly off. So just zoom off vertically. This is meant to be very important. I just have a adorable image in my head of a minim riding other ants to battle my war horse. Lol. Yes. I think it will actually look quite cute. And when they're carrying leaves as well, the plan is to have them the minim on the leaf, so on top of the leaf that the ant's carrying. Major storming off to battle with the minions clinging on, screaming, "For the love of the queen, slow down!" Yeah, it's gonna be quite amusing, I think. I need to get Matt to do the riding minims. It's not my area. He's done the Phorid fly, but he hasn't attached the minims yet. Right, so the attack sequence then. So here we've got. So what I will do is I will make a decision-making machine as part of the first process here, which will set what the ants are doing based on whether they've got a target and whatnot. But at the minute, it's not actually making any decisions. I'm just telling it that it's doing the next thing. So here in attack, what we'll probably want to do here is there'll be 2 branches, or 3 branches even. One is heading to, well, it's gonna head to the target, and then stay very close to the target at that point. So it needs to kind of follow the target for a very brief period of time. This might require some thought because at the moment we've got target new destination, and it's just literally targeting destinations. Maybe we should make a function for targeting target a creature. I've got an idea, but I don't know how it's going to look, so we'll see. So I don't need to pass in the target because it should just be current target. So if the creature's if its current target's in play, well, let me have a quick look at the tick. Right. So this is just a boolean that's going to check whether it's actually targeting the creature. So if it's actually targeting the creature, what we're going to do is, instead of most of this, no, we're going to set the target destination we're going to reset the target destination to the There's going to be all sorts of things I need to take into account here that I haven't done yet, but we will get around to them. So if it's targeting creature, it updates its destination there. So that's updating its destination, but it's not updating its origin. So shouldn't that kind of know that it goes zooming to it and then just kind of stays attached? Although that won't do that entirely. So if targeting creature is true, I want moving to remain true. If target creature is false, moving can go to false. Okay. Let's see if that works. Oh, hang on. I need to... So target creature. It needs to run target new destination. And then it also needs to flag this as true. Okay, let's see what that does. However, I'm nowhere near ready for it yet, because I need to put it into the behavior tree. Target. Okay, nearly there. So it gets its current target. Instead of running that, it runs the thing we're talking about, target creature. Doesn't run that. Because it doesn't run that, it doesn't need any of this. Or that. Or that. Or that. Or that. Or even that. Doesn't need anything. I'm going to put a failsafe in here. Sorry, I'll come back to the chat. Oh, hello, Project Zero. Wait, I'm on the challenge mode of 1-1. Very good. Oh god, chat's exploded since I've been concentrating. I'm not going to be able to play with the leafcutter seriously anymore. I'm going to be having too much fun. Just picture the means. A giant change from the spider level, creeper running the beach ball inside to screaming minnings riding leafcutters. Wholesome and adorable. I welcome this change. Black ants will be so jealous. They always are. Fire ants get all the fun stuff. This is coming into the leafcutter levels actually. I know fire ants also have Phorid flies in their as enemies of them, but this is actually coming into the leafcutter levels. This is going to be the challenge mode on the leafcutter levels. Like roof ants without the range. By the way, I'm on the challenge mode of 1-1. From basically the start of the stream. I find fire ants are my most respected and feared of super colony types. Yeah. Fire ants are quite terrifying. Actually, watch for Fire Nation on Ants Canada. Yeah, I do watch Ants Canada if you haven't seen it. So it's brilliant. Most viewers in Ants Canada. Yeah, I think most people who are very into an Ant computer game are also likely to be very into Ant YouTube channels. That's not to say all our players are really into ants. They're not. There's quite a few players that just enjoy the game. But I think if you're dedicated enough to be in my live stream, you probably have a greater than average fascination with ants, should I say. So so what did I just make? PF target creature. So target creature is fine. I'll just get it to wait. Waiting for 5 seconds seems fine to me. For now. And we'll make it go to attack. Then let's see what happens. Hopefully this will fly to the ant and just stick to it. We will see. So it should be this ant. Okay, yeah, that. Okay. Instead, it's just teleporting. Oh no, what have we done? I've created teleporting Phorid flies. That wasn't what I wanted. Every 5 seconds it's teleporting to it. Give us a sub button already. I think you need to sign up to the partner thing for subbing. Maybe I can look into that. And we can create some thingamabobs. Okay, so it's definitely moving to the right location. The issue is at the minute that it's teleporting and not. So if I have a look at its movement code, because this should be fine. Phorid fly spawner. If I do, I have a target. So it should just be in the Phorid fly. Okay, so so it maintains its movement. You see, so that's what I was kind of Oh, I've accidentally set the start destination rather than the target destination. There we go. That should do it. Which would also explain why it's teleporting. There we are. We've got a Phorid fly. Riding an ant. Long sleep. The one thing it's not doing is rotating with the ant. I'm not sure whether it should rotate with the ant. I mean, it's easy enough to do the rotation. I mean, essentially, I reset the target. It would be set target rotation as well. That said, oh no, this is easy enough. I just get its target rotation. No, easy enough, easy enough. So now it should just be attached to it, like it's attached to its back. It's not in the right rotation. In fact, it's exactly 90 degrees off. I know why, because ants are rotated 90 degrees the wrong way. I remember this. Okay, so which 90 degrees is it? Is it clockwise or counterclockwise? Pause. Let's have a look. So we need to move it negatively 90 degrees. It's a legacy issue we've got. Unfortunately, we're stuck with. might make rotation from axes. There we are. The Z needs to be -90. I'll clean this up in a minute because at the minute it's getting really messy. There we go. There we go. We can pretend the ant is being ridden by the firefly. See you later, Alex. Okay. So it doesn't actually need to stay attached for long. I think in reality it only is attached for like a fraction of a second. So we'll give it about 0.2 seconds. And then something's got to happen based on whether it's carrying a leaf. Anyway, I'm just going to grab a coffee. I'm going to keep streaming for a little while yet. Not a huge amount of time, but I will keep streaming. Jumper on. Sure, we'll make sure there's plenty of content coming for veterans as well as new players. Okay, so what's next with the Phorid flies? So they attach, here they're waiting for 5 seconds. It doesn't need to wait that long. So what did we say? 0.2 seconds? Maybe 0.3. Then we've got to, after that amount of time, there needs to be a decision made. So create a new task. Call it Phorid fly inject. So after this task, either the injection's going to be successful or it's going to fail. At which point it will either it will either return to flight idling, or if it's successful, it will return to flight idling. If it fails, it will escape. So I am going to create a new what do we call it? A new enum. Not a new enum, but a new branch to the enum. A new Phorid fly state. Escape. There we are. Okay, so where's the inject? Here it is. Okay, so we need to receive and execute. So eventually I want to look to see if the ant is carrying a leaf. If it's carrying a leaf, the injection will be 100% successful. If the ant's not carrying a leaf, then the I want to build a terrarium for my own colony. Okay, so it's going to be based on a few things. Okay, so current target. Okay, so if the target is, for a start, if the target is level 3, not if the target is level 3, if the target is a level 3 leafcutter major or Medea, it will have an ant on its back, which will be swiping at the Phorid fly at this point. It'll have a minim on its back. So therefore it will automatically fail. Oh yeah, that does work. Oh no, I should use that one. So if its target is valid is in play, so specifically if, so creature name, Illustrated games has been my favourite. Archer, I'm glad you want to follow this through some games, such as this have proven to last. If enough, stick with it. I think I'm very proud of our community. We've got a decent amount of players. We're obviously not a runaway success, but we are. But I consider the game successful. It's got me to where I am at the minute. And looking at the stats of players that play every day, it's still on SteamDB. It's still very healthy. Well, we're not a massive corporation, are we? We have to do what we can. Okay, so if it's a major, right. So first of all, we'll just do a check for level 3. That's a quicker check to do. So it passes that check. Then we're going to check whether it's a major or a so I think there is. What? How do I do? Hang on. It's not AI. Huh. So I think they're just called. It's got the full name. So it's Leafcutter Major Taunt, Leafcutter Major Stern, this should just be called Leafcutter Medea, right? Well, always best to double check. So if it's any of those at this point, so it is level 3. If it's any of those, it's going to fail to inject. So what we're going to do at that point is we're going to change it to escape. So change it to escape, and it'll leg it at that point. And then finish execute. I think it will be down as success because it's then going to come back into it. So that's one outcome. Another outcome so what's this one going to be? That's escape. This outcome is when the this is idle. So idle flight. So any of these will lead to idle flight. So basically, if the thing's dead, if your target's died, by the time you try and inject it, we're going to go back to buzzing around. Also, if this isn't a forward flight, to be fair, that's just an error. If this isn't a forward flight. Okay, so it's not a level 3 one of these. This is the next choice, and this is when we actually inject it. Apply. Effect. So we're not here. We're going to it's just going to be effects. Yeah, there's no ability. $15 to midnight. Whoa. In Australia. He's storming through the game. Okay, so I might need to create a new effect because there's execute, but what we really need is like a death sentence. So my guess is that's execute. Although I've accidentally put its text as an explanation rather than. I'm also going to need to put an animation of a fly flying off when it's killed. And there's also it also needs multiple effects. So I think what I'll do is a slow, so it makes it harder for it to carry the stuff back. But it doesn't need to be huge slow. So slow movement speed. At the moment, it's going to be 2 minutes, although I might rethink this. We don't. I'll just leave the causing colony ideas -1. So it's going to do a slow, then slow animation speed. But oh, hang on, I do need to put a damage in. Slow by 20%, 30%. Slow animation speed by no, it's animation speed change, so it's going to need to be minus. So attacks are slowed but to 0.3. And then finally, we need to apply a death sentence. Although what I might do is just change execute to work on a timer. I'll come back to this because we're going to need to do some C++ changes. For now, I'm just going to make sure everything else works. So it's going to apply that, then it's going to idle. Okay, so what we should see now is that the thing should fly to it, stay there for 0.3 seconds, cast like a slow on it, then go back to just buzzing around. Oh. But we'll see, eh? We'll see. So it should happen pretty quickly. Okay, it's not gone back to buzzing around. Oh, hang on. Have I actually... No, I haven't put it into the sequence. Yeah. And I haven't done escape yet, so... Okay, should we see what the issue is? I see what the issue is. So this is designed to stick to it. So it sets this target creature, but I don't think I've ever unset it. So it's only ever set in this one place, which is target creature. However, I think target new destination should disable target creature. That should work fine, I think. Is it this one? Let's have a look at its effects. Yeah. Okay, so that's... I mustn't have done the... No, that... I haven't attached that to that. Okay, so that worked. However, it was a bit quick. So I don't even think it arrived then by the time it... I mean, it won't be that quick in the actual thing because it will have been hovering near it. At the moment, it's flying a long way to do it, to do the injection. But I do think we can give it longer. So you can actually see that it's injecting. Okay. So you can see that that's been slowed now. Right. Okay, so I'm coming back to chat for a second. Yeah, doing story predictions. I can't join in with that. You carry on. Okay, so now we need to do the overarching sequence. So what we want to do here is we want what we want to do here is we want to make the Phorid fly think for itself, sort of. It's the way it's going to work is there's going to be a high level controller for a group of Phorid flies. So what that controller will do is it will spawn them in. It will keep track of them and it will give them targets. It will also tell them when to take off and when to go back home. So that's going to do some of the thinking for them. However, once they've been given a target, the Phorid fly itself should be going through a sequence of events. So it should be staying in this state for an amount of time, then getting closer to the target, and then injecting, and then either carrying on or flying off. I think with execute as well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a timer, so I can essentially use execute as a death sentence as well. So if execute has a timer, the timer will tick down, then it will trigger. Okay, so I'm gonna spoof the high level thinking for now, but I'm gonna create the thinking for the individual Phorid fly. So we need a service now. Now a service is something that runs constantly whilst the behavior tree is running. And what the service is going to do is it's going to decide on what action the Phorid fly needs to take at that point. Now there's not going to be a huge amount of Phorid flies in the game, so I'm not thinking of well, unless Matt tells me that it's really inefficient. I'm hoping that I won't need to redo this. So I need to create service from base, save as, Phorid fly, Phorid fly decide. So, as on a tick, we can also decide ourselves how often this ticks. It doesn't need to be particularly frequently, but essentially, if we don't have a target, we also need to look at the spawner here. I'm going to add a variable to the spawner which the Phorid flies can keep an eye on, and it's just going to be take flight. It's just going to be a bool that it'll set itself based on whether it sees enemy creatures nearby. If it sees not just enemy creatures, if it sees enemy leafcutters nearby, it will flag this take flight to true. And the ants will and the ants the Phorid flies will hopefully take off. So Okay, so we also need to think about the state that we're currently in before we make this decision. So if the Phorid fly is already attacking something, so if it's got a target, so if the Phorid fly's got a target that's valid and in play, we also need to think about whether the target's already been injected as well. If the target's already been injected, we need to ignore it. Right, I need to do a look for effects. I think I need to add something into creatures to look at effects. Give me 1 sec. There's a few things I need to do now. There's a couple of things I need to do with the creatures now. I'm debating whether I should save at the moment and then go to C++. What time is it? I'm going to be ending the stream in a minute, so that's probably what I'll be doing off stream. Is creating this death sentence effect and allowing us to search the effects on the creature. So I'll come back to this because I'll deal with that at another point. So essentially, if it's in play, there'll be So failing that, so let's say it's already been injected. Or it's invalid, or it's not in play. I'm going to clear the current target. So at this point, we know we don't have a target. Next, we've got to make sure that we're not escaping. Oh, hang on. So there's a few states which we're going to ignore what's going on. I need to think about this. So if the current, we can't change state, so we shouldn't do anything if our state is either attack or escape. Because those states deal with themselves. However, if we're in return home, what we should do is look for something, look to see if take flight is true. If take flight is true, so I'll shift these up for a sec. Deal with those later. So if take flight is true, then we need to set our current state to idle flight. Otherwise, we don't do anything. We end there. If we're in idle flight, we need to look to see if we have a target. So idle flight does this. So what's this? This is, if it's in play, it'll check to see if... You're looking at my forehead. Must be exciting. If it's in play, we look to see if it's been injected. If it has been injected, we go that way. If it hasn't been injected, this is where we decide to attack. So in this situation, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to set that there, and I'm going to use the set one just because this is getting out of hand. Got blue wires going everywhere. Okay, so under the circumstances where we haven't been injected, we change ourselves to pre-attack, and we're going to set something in the blackboard which is going to be the pre-attack timer, which is the timer that it stays in the pre-attack mode, and if that timer makes it to 0, it's going to attack. I think if the ants got out of the area in time, it won't attack. I think that's what I'm going to do. So basically, if you walk into the area of the Phorid flies and you see them hovering over your ant, if you leave immediately, they'll probably leave you alone. Oh, sorry. I've been focused for a while. I'll come back to chat. Take over city. Splicing. Always good stream. Lots of info. I'll try and join the next one. Also, do you mind if I write a book about the game? Essentially, aspect of the Gene Thief ants. You want to write some fan fiction? Or are you talking about just completed the challenge mode 1 2 as well? Just saying I'd be interested in reading such. Is it are you talking about fan fiction or like just kind of like information? I mean, there's no reason why you can't write a book on the subject. The complication comes if you try and sell such a thing. Yeah, sci-fi book. I'd say go ahead and make sure you send us it when you're working on it, so we can have a read. Just don't create it to sell, because it's that could get complicated. But yeah, create it. I'd be interested in seeing an outsider what an outsider makes of what we've of the kind of the lore of the universe. Okay, so that's sending it into pre-attack if it has a target. The decision to actually attack. So I said I wanted to set a pre-attack timer. So in order to do that, we're going to need to put this on the blackboard. I've ended up streaming for longer than I intended. I'd be very interested to read it. Okay, so what was I doing? That's it, blackboard. No, that's not the blackboard. There we are. Okay, so we want to add something into this. What do we need? 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 Yeah, the research that we have to do when making the game is quite extensive. Sometimes you can only find information on like obscure papers somewhere. A lot of information you have to kind of get from academic sources as well. Things you read. Okay, hang on. Bool class. What was this? Timer. It was a float. It's a float. This is going to be pre-attack timer. So in decide, just if it's in pre-attack here, what we'll do is we'll do a check to see if our target is still valid. It's similar to this actually, what we need to do. So I think we reset it to 0, and then if it goes over a certain amount, so it's going to change current state to pre-attack. I don't know how long it should be in pre-attack for. Probably about 3 seconds. Just guessing. So if it's in pre-attack, its current targets in, if its current targets, can I create events? I might be able to. Yeah, it looks like I can. So sets to idle flight. I want to also set its current target to nothing. Okay, so if its current target's invalid or not in play, we'll reset it to idle. its current target's in play, what we'll do is we'll tick the timer. So that'll increase the timer by the amount of time that's passed since this last ran. And then, if it's gone over a threshold, what did I say, 3 seconds? In that situation, we switch to attack. Okay, I think we're close here. It's just this stuff here. So I'm going to turn that to false for now, so it will always assume it hasn't been injected. Attack should deal with the escaping or returning to normal. Okay, so I'm just going to set the level up. This is probably going to be the last thing I do today. So left bracket's going to set take flight to true. Right bracket is the only thing that's going to do is give it a target. It's not going to change anything else. Right, I need to apply the Phorid, I need to apply the decision-making thing to the behavior tree. Where is the behavior tree? There. Okay, so this needs a service added to it, which is should start with PF, should be the only one. Yeah, PF decide. It's gonna. I don't want this to decide particularly rapidly. So let's say every 5 seconds with a random deviation of 2 seconds. Okay, let's try that. See what happens. Okay, so currently that's just going to be sitting there. Press this one. Okay, there we are. That worked. Okay, then pressing the right one will give it a target. What happened? Okay, something's going wrong because it is hovering near its target, but it's coming out of as the injection. Okay, no, it looks like it's actually working. Obviously there's an issue with its rotation at the minute. Once it injects, it needs to forget its target. I also think that it should probably hover around its target for a lot longer than it is at the minute. There's not just going to be one or two of them. There'll be a lot of them. So it should look more like a small swarm of flies. And also, when they have placed the egg, I'm thinking some debuff effect appears on the ant, so you know that one's on a death sentence. But that looks to me like it's working. Obviously, it needs some neatening up. Okay. I think we got somewhere. I think we got to a nice position today. There's still quite a bit I need to do with the Phorid flies. Like I need to give the defense chance, and I need to look at the leaf carrying, because if you're carrying your leaf, they're very vulnerable unless they're level 3, in which case they've got the minim on their back. But yeah, I'm pleased with today's progress. Okay, so as usual, look for me on Thursday. It's Been a cracking stream. I think on Thursday, I'm not sure what I'll be working on. I'll see how I get on with this tomorrow. There's also achievement work I need to do, amongst other things. I'm hoping the ramps will be sorted soon. We shall see. The distance that's flying as well, it won't be doing that in the levels because it will be targeting things around this area. At the moment, I've just given it a target, so it'll make more sense. But also, I think I want them to hover around the target for longer. Because I actually quite like that target hovering movement, where it like follows it around. Yes, there's going to be the major riders. Minim's riding majors. And Medea as well. Level 3 Medea will have the same, I think. Although I will just verify that makes sense. I think it does make sense. I think that happens. It's actually hard to get information about it. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me. Super Major Bus. I'll be back on Thursday. I look forward to streaming again then. See you then. Ta-ra.